And CEO of gab.ai, and once again we have a dishonest, disgusting rag piece, tabloid, junk, Daily Mail, who didn't even reach out to us for a comment. They just cherry-picked certain comments and didn't reach out to us to say anything, and then proceeded to also use our old, outdated logo in their piece. So this just shows you the level of journalistic integrity that these folks have when they not only don't reach out for a direct comment from us, they have to cherry pick the comments that we have made either in the past or to other publications. They can't even get basic things right, like using our new logo. You have to love it, right? So the new logo is actually clearly right there in the meme that they pulled from Twitter here. But their narrative is to paint all of alternative technology as neo-Nazis, as racist, as terrible people, as the far right, because God forbid someone stands up and says, let's defend the freedom of speech, let's defend individual liberty, let's defend and speak out against what's happening in Silicon Valley, the censorship, the pushing of one-sided agendas. So, they just group us in here with this narrative on neo-Nazism and racism and all this nonsense. So, how's it going, folks? Let's dive in here. So, first of all, the Daily Mail has been successfully sued for libel multiple times. Actually, they have an entire section on their Wikipedia just for the amount of successful libel lawsuits that they have had against them. So I think it's very telling that they exercise very poor journalistic integrity, don't reach out to us for a comment, don't use our updated logo, which was updated months ago, and try to paint us as something that we're not. So I think that obviously, nationalists and patriots are being mislabeled and misjudged and mispainted by the media. And we're being grouped into that, and we're not going to allow it to happen. So I think most nationalists and patriots, or people that call themselves nationalists and patriots, they're democratic, law-abiding citizens who seek to red pill society and the internet on the ills of globalism, right? That's what their message is about. So I think it's really interesting that they always try to group us in with Richard Spencer and the alt-right and all this nonsense. Richard Spencer has a Gab account, but he hasn't used it in about 6 months. So I don't understand why they try to make this connection every time they write about us. They try to connect us directly with the alt-right when we don't even have Richard Spencer using the product. We have average, everyday, normal, working-class people from around the world who are just fed up with the bias and the agenda pushing of Silicon Valley. I think they also love to focus on the negatives of free speech. They don't like to focus on the positive of free speech and the positives of the free flow of information and discourse. They try to cherry pick and use different quotes that are meant to attack us and are meant to make us look terrible. When they pull my quote of the reality is that hate speech is free speech. Well, that's not only a quote from me, that's a direct ruling from the United States Supreme Court. This just happened in June. So if you're going to try and cherry pick a quote from me and make me look evil for saying that hate speech is free speech, well, you're going to have to also cherry pick the Supreme Court's ruling on it as well. So taking out of context quotes and cutting and pasting different snippets to try and defame and degrade my character, the character of our community, the character of Gab, that's craziness, right? So I think we have a really positive message here. We are fighting back against the bias of Silicon Valley, the double standards of Silicon Valley, the ideological echo chamber of Silicon Valley, and giving people an alternative platform to speak their mind without fear of being censored, without fear of losing an account that they spent years building up, creating content for, without having to tiptoe around about what they're saying and what they're not saying to appease to advertisers so that they lose and demonetize and lose all of their income. We are trying to put people first. We are trying to put creators first. We're trying to empower people and creators to speak freely, to speak their mind, to have open discourse and dialogue. That is what Gab is about. Now, I think it's very clear also that we disavow political violence. We've said this multiple times. We are not encouraging anybody to be violent. We are encouraging free and open expression of ideas, of information, so that people can come together and unite around common shared goals. I think that places like the Daily Mail, if they want to group us in with neo-Nazis and call us racists and bigots, etc., it's absurd. They can't even get our logo right. They're using our old logo. They didn't reach out to us for a comment, and they just want, why? Because they don't want to give us a chance to speak what we have to say, right? They don't want us to give us a chance to even, tell our side and push what we're trying to sell here, which is freedom of speech, the free flow of information, and, individual liberty. These things are under threat. They're under threat by Silicon Valley, and we're standing up and we're fighting back against it. That's what it's about. So I think I was really thrilled. There's some comments. You can jump in the comments of the Daily Mail article, and the top comment right now, I just want to read it because it was fantastic, and maybe you can go upvote it and go leave a comment yourself and let them know what you think. Gab is a wonderful Twitter alternative. It truly is a bastion of free speech, the way a social network should be. But it gets vilified by the left because they can't use their usual tactics of banning, shadow banning, demonetizing, and suppressing speech that they don't like. And since there's no ads, there's no advertisers to keep happy. So while you'll see it often labeled as racist, note that the founders of Gab are a Muslim, a Hindu, and a Christian. It is more diverse than any other major social network's executive team. Recently, it's seen a huge influx of members from Germany and the UK as people are seeking out venues where they can speak freely without Facebook banning them or reporting them to Frau Merkel for bad think. That comment made me really happy. If you guys want to go and leave a comment on this Daily Mail article, I just tweeted it out. I'm going to share it on Gab as well. Go leave a comment. Let them know what you think. Because the media is not going to, we're not going to allow them to sit here and paint us as something that we're not. We're not going to allow them to demonize free speech. We're not going to allow them to demonize individual liberty. We have a positive message from day one. Gab turns 1 year old tomorrow, right? So for over a year now almost, we have been saying everybody is welcome. This is about freedom of speech. This is about individual liberty. This is about empowering people and content creators. That is what Gab has always been about, and that is what Gab will always be about. And they refuse to acknowledge that, and instead they take the path of, well, Gab is just filled with a bunch of racists. And that's absurd, okay? That's absurd, and we're going to fight back against it. And every time a rag media publication like the Daily Mail, essentially a tabloid magazine, sued for libel successfully, so many times that they have to have a dedicated section of Wikipedia just to list all the successful libel lawsuits that have, been ruled against them. These type of people are disgusting, and we're going to continue to call them out, and we're going to continue to set the record straight about what Gab is about and about what we're building and about who our community of amazing people from around the world are. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Remember to speak freely and get the word out. Have a good one.